Diminished scales can seem really scary and overwhelming and hard to understand, and I've got a way of explaining it to you which you will absolutely get. By the end of this video you will completely understand diminished scales. There's a really nice easy way to think about it, and I'm going to share that with you now in this video. In this video you're also going to get, courtesy of SessionBand, a backing track which you can practice all of your diminished scales to, and this has come from SessionBand Jazz Volume 2, which is an awesome app, and I've set up a diminished scale in all keys so we can practice it in a practice with me kind of format where I play the scale and you play the scale, and I put the notes at the bottom of the screen for you. You're also going to get a PDF, which is really quite a big PDF now. I think it's about 6 pages, and this is just explaining everything about it. This is all completely free of charge. The links are going to be in the description below, and the PDF spells out everything that I'm going to talk about in this video about how to understand and immediately be able to play diminished scales with no problems whatsoever. This video is for alto and tenor saxophone. When I get to the practice with me bit, I'm going to put a time code on for tenor players so you can skip ahead and you can practice your diminished scales on the tenor as well. I'm going to demonstrate on the alto just because when I'm sitting down it's just a bit easier to kind of manipulate really, but everything that I'm going to be talking about on the alto saxophone is of course applicable on the tenor saxophone. So before I dive in and share with you this super simple way of thinking about diminished scales, can I just ask you a massive favour? If you are enjoying this way of teaching, my teaching style, and the free content that I'm giving you, could you just do me a massive favour and please subscribe? And if you want to go the extra mile, share my videos on your Facebook or your TikTok or Instagram or wherever. That would be so helpful. My commitment to you, by the way, is to carry on making lots of free content. This is now my 196th or 7th free video that I've made on YouTube, and I'll keep making them as long as people keep subscribing, and the support is very welcome. I've also got a website which is saxmadesimple.com, and that's got tons of free resources, and it's also got all of my videos there are on Sax Made Simple, so you can just search for anything you like, 251s, harmonic minors, rhythmic ideas, and have a look at the videos completely free of charge, that you can, and there's a search box, you can pull up that video and it's got a video and it's got a backing track and a PDF in lots of cases. So please do go visit the website and subscribe to my newsletter. Right, let's dive in. So on the PDF it says the first part is around why we have a diminished scale or chords, and so the reason is that the diminished scale is a really very tense, kind of dark, a really interesting kind of sound in music, and it creates tension. If you put it next to something which creates resolution, like a kind of minor scale or a major scale, this very tense, diminished sound just builds up that tension that can then be resolved on another chord. So it's a wonderful sound, and it's really kind of dark and kind of, you'll hear in a second. And that's what it says on the second paragraph, creates a lot of tension. It says it's a very dark and almost menacing sound in many ways. Of course, that's just a subjective view. Have a listen to it. Maybe you'll think it's really pretty. I kind of hear it as a little bit dark. The first thing that we need to do is to understand how to recognize one when we see one. And with that in mind, I've got my iReal Pro here. And if you like The Girl from Ipanema or any of the work by Antonio Carlos Jobim, often there's diminished chords in his work, and the way that you would recognize one, can you see here you've got this F with a circle next to it and a 7, and that's what it says on the PDF. It says often you'll see it written something like a D, or in that case an F with a small circle next to it. So it'll either have a small circle or a small circle and a 7, and if you see that chord, that's telling you to play a diminished chord or scale. So let's have a think about the structure. The easiest way to think about a diminished scale, it's just like a minor scale. That's all it is. It's the first 4 notes of a minor scale. So if I was going to give you an example of a diminished scale in the key of D on my alto saxophone, I would just think, what's the first 4 notes of D minor? And the answer would be D, E, F, G. That's all it is. Now when I get to that fourth note, whatever that note is, in this case it's a G, I'm going to go up a semitone, and that will give me A flat or G sharp. And now I'm going to play the first four notes of G sharp or A flat minor and put that on top. And when I get to that note, that fourth note, I'm going to go a semitone up from there, which would be the D, and I've got the scale. So it's just like two minor scales put together. Have a listen again. And if I put that together, so how straightforward is that? It's just like a minor scale. The first four notes of a minor scale, whatever it is, you go at four notes. When you get to that fourth note, go up a semitone and play the first four notes of that minor scale, and then go up a semitone again, and you've got the diminished scale. And that's all it is. Now, because of that, you've got the structure of this is kind of unusual compared to a major scale. Normally in a major scale or a Dorian minor scale, we have 7 different notes before you hit the root again, so you get 8 notes altogether, or 7 different notes. But in this case, because of the structure, you're actually going to get 8 different notes, so it's an 8-note scale. And because of the repeating structure, so if you have a look at the PDF, I've written it out, D, E, F, G, G sharp, A sharp, B, C sharp and D. And the distances between all of those notes are, so you have a whole tone between D and E, a half tone between E and F, a whole tone between F and G, a half between G and G sharp, a whole between G sharp and A sharp, a half between A sharp and B, a whole tone between B and C sharp, and a half tone. So as you can see, it's a repeating pattern of whole tone and half tone, whole tone, half tone. Now because of that, mathematically, it works out that if you were to work out a diminished scale starting on F, then the notes would be identical to the notes of D diminished. So D diminished and F diminished and G sharp diminished and B diminished all have exactly the same notes, which is pretty cool, because what that means is if you learn D diminished scale, you've also learned F diminished scale, G sharp diminished and B diminished. How cool is that? Absolutely fantastic. And because one scale, so the D, because D covers 4 of the key centers, there can only be 3 diminished scales. Yes, get in. So that just means that I have to learn 3 diminished scales, and then I've got all 12, because I don't have to learn 12 scales like I would if I was learning a major scale. So that's really good news, isn't it? I think it is. And then what I've done is that I've written the other diminished scales under there for you on the second page. So you've got one that starts on D, one that starts on E, and one that starts on F sharp. And if you learn those 3 diminished scales, you've got them all. So then if we turn over the page, it says if we practice these 3 diminished scales and get comfortable with them, then we're well on the road to being able to see a diminished chord on a chord chart and being able to play the right scale over it. So when I see one, I always think of the first 4 notes of the minor scale and then going up a semitone and the first 4 notes of another minor scale. So if I go back to my iReal Pro here and I just loop these 2 bars, have a listen to how nice it sounds if I play over these 2 bars. And I'm just going to keep it really simple, and I'm just going to play the diminished scale straight up and down. Doesn't it sound nice? Sounds really jazzy and lovely, and I really like diminished scales, and I like being able to understand them and actually play something over them. So then there's a part 2 of all of this, and you can actually use that same diminished scale over a dominant seventh, and it says when we see a chord such as C7, G7 or D7, in other words a dominant seventh chords, it gives us a wide range of sound that we can play over. Dominant sevenths offer us a broader range of possibilities compared to major and minor scales of the things that we could play over them. So you could play a diminished scale over a dominant seventh chord, and then what you do is instead of starting with a whole step, you start with a half step. For example, if you see a D7 chord, you can play a diminished scale starting on a D, and I've written the notes out there as well. So it's exactly the same three scales that you would have learned, but you're just applying them in a different way. And this is the same set of notes as the diminished scale, but you're starting on a different point in the pattern. As the same set of notes works over D7, F7, G7 and B7 will also work over that. So you still only have to learn three scales, but it's just the application of those scales which takes a little bit of time to get down. So the rule is, if you see a diminished chord, you also always start on the whole half version, and if you see a dominant seventh chord, start on the half whole version. So, and then I've got final thoughts, and then I've got a plan, and then we'll play the diminished scale in all keys. So it can seem intimidating at first to get to grips with diminished scales, and that is perfectly okay. If you feel intimidated, that is just completely normal. To avoid this, let's have a plan, and this is the plan that I want to share with you. First of all, recognize where to play a diminished chord. All you have to do there is just realize that that small circle after a pitch like D with a small circle or D with a small circle and a 7 is telling you to play a diminished. Then the second thing is to learn those three scales that we talked about at the start of this video, which is the three diminished scales. And understand that the structure is whole tone half, and so on and so forth. And then start to experiment with just one of those scales over a backing track, and use the other three key centers that scale fits over and get used to the sound of that as well. So you're just working on one scale, but you're playing it in four, starting on the root, starting on the third, then the fifth, and then the seventh, to explore the other possibilities. Do the same points 3 and 4 with one of the other diminished scales. So eventually do that with all three diminished scales. And once you've got them under your fingers, start looking at a dominant seventh chord, and know that you can use a diminished scale over that as well, but starting on a half step rather than a whole step, and then follow points 3, 4 and 5 in the plan that I've given you. If it starts to feel overwhelming or intimidating, just start with point 2 of the plan, which is just learn those three scales. So I've given you a ton of information, and what I really want you to focus on is just getting these three scales, the whole half version that we talked about right at the start, which we're going to practice now. I want you to get those under your fingers, and that would be a really, really good start to understanding and being able to use these beautiful scales. So let me know in the comments below if this has been helpful. It is a big job, and I would expect it, if you've never come across diminished scales before, or you've kind of avoided them, or you weren't too clear about them, then I would expect it. It does take a little bit of time and a bit of discipline and practice and dedication to get these scales, but it's very, very doable. And if you just focus on, there's only three diminished scales, and I just need to get those under my fingers, and they're just like a minor scale. That's the first four notes of a minor scale, and then moving up a semitone and playing the first four notes of that minor scale. If you just focus on that, then you're definitely going to get there. Right, let's do this for alto sax, and we're going to play it in all 12 keys. I'll show you exactly what I'm going to do. So now I don't think I'd be able to sing the diminished scale. Yes, I can. So it's going to go like this, look. Whoops, my microphone has fallen off. It's going to go like this. So it's going to be me. Then you, and then me. Sorry about singing. Then you. and that's going to and that's the way we're going to go, and we're going to go through all 12 scales. And like I said, I've created a backing track for you so you can practice this at home. Right, let's do it. This is going to be for alto. Tenor players, please go here. Good stuff, well done. So how did you find that? I really hope that you've enjoyed it and found this video useful, and I'm really trying to make a difference to your saxophone playing, and if I am, can you let me know in the description below, or drop me an email to Lyndon@SaxMadeSimple. I would love to hear about it. Please do subscribe to the video. Also, please do go and have a look at my website. I'd love to get your feedback about it. Thank you so much for watching, and I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next video. Take care. Bye-bye. Okay, so here it is for tenor saxophone. Let's do it. Excellent work, well done. So how did you find that? I really hope that you've enjoyed it and found this video useful, and I'm really trying to make a difference to your saxophone playing, and if I am, can you let me know in the description below or drop me an email to Lyndon@SaxMadeSimple. I would love to hear about it. Please do subscribe to the video. Also, please do go and have a look at my website. I'd love to get your feedback about it. Thank you so much for watching, and I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next video. Take care. Bye bye.